Welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi here in Town Hall in my office. And I am with today the one, the only, Brimstone. How you doing, Brim?
Peace, I'm good. How are you, my brother?
Appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you coming on. And big shout out to Drew. He put us on and he's a good man and I appreciate that connection. But to you, something when Drew talked to me about you that stuck out was, you know, your love of hip hop. Miami hip hop, Miami art, Miami culture, but more importantly, preserving it, archiving it, and going through that process. You know, why? What's your why? What motivated you to start down that path? Because kids growing up in Miami, you know, music, hip hop really wasn't. You know what I mean? Like where I grew up at the time was like, hey, you played baseball. You know, hey, todo mundo jugar pelota. We had to go play baseball, but what's that why? When was that trigger that you're like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I want to thank the Most High and then my brother Drew who brought me here. I just want to circle back to Hialeah. That's where you said you were from, correct?
Yep.
So Hialeah actually had a wonderful scene of hip hop from mid 80s, even to now. But the mid 80s into the early 90s, some of the most influential crews and writers of all time created styles right out of Hialeah. Miami's most famous b-boy, they call him the grandfather of Miami b-boy, Speedy Legs, Richard Fernandez, Hialeah. So I think it's important just to understand that this scene that we're talking about, this brother Drew is actually one of the people that put me in a room as a younger person and showed me this is the why. This is why you do hip hop. You don't do it for yourself, you do it for others. And although hip hop it promotes this like egocentric, egotistical individual, which you have to be on the mic. There's no doubt about it. You can't be soft on a microphone. As an MC, I'm not talking about rap or anything else. As an MC, when you come to the microphone and you bring what you bring, when you step off, you have to maintain the humility in order for you to really do the work that you're called to do. It's very hard to do as any artist or any person in a position seat. So that's the why. Because this brother right here taught me how to work in community for sure.
That's phenomenal. So what was that first day that you were like, man, this is not, and understanding your why, but what was that first day where you're like, man, this is it. Like, I love this. This can't be it for the rest of my life. Now understanding where the why came from. Now when did that trigger hit where they're like, hey, this is for real, this is forever?
I appreciate that. 1984, around 1984, I go to Gloria Floyd Elementary School. In 1983, before hip hop culture was introduced mainstream, I probably heard it first time 82, 83, Africa Bambaataa, Soul Sonic Force, and Run DMC. But I remember before hip hop entered my elementary school, you had the white kids over here eating together, the black kids over here eating together, the Hispanic kids over here eating together. The next year comes hip hop. Now a few of the black kids come, a few of the Hispanic kids come, a few of the white kids come, and now there's this new group of youth that are running around together. I'm going to visiting your house, your neighborhood, you're coming to mine. We're having this cultural exchange at the age of 10, 11, 12, and not even understanding what's going on. Those were that's the formative years, and I credit that 100% to hip hop culture, because everyone that jumped into that circle was a dancer, a graffiti writer, a b-boy, an MC, a DJ, to whatever level, a beat maker on the table, whatever level they understood it, that's what they did, and we called ourselves hip hop without even knowing what hip hop was.
Man, that's interesting how music brings folks together. And talking about the Miami scene, I had on here before, and you tell me what your thoughts are, but I had Harry Wayne Casey on the podcast, Casey from the Sunshine Band. So he talks to me when they started in the 70s, right before the movement, but how his music, that disco type, became influential for the hip hop movement in Dade County and throughout the country. I mean, is that am I going down the right path, or what? What are your thoughts on that angle? Because him and we talked about it, and now putting those generations together, because you're talking about the 80s, but he was hitting me up on the 70s and how it turned into, you know what I mean? Some, like he told me some of the songs today still get sampled, you know, his stuff that happened back then. So is that where do you see that the Miami hip hop scene started? Was it in the 80s, or do you think it was influenced by folks like KC, especially during that disco era that converted itself into hip hop?
I think each generation builds upon the generation before it. So whatever the parents were doing, it influenced the kids and so on and so forth. So in that regard, absolutely. But in terms of the bigger picture of hip hop culture, the music itself wasn't based solely on disco. As a matter of fact, disco was frowned upon by a lot of the early hip hop heads. And they didn't want to go to the disco clubs. They wanted to go to hear these very rare records by James Brown or the Jimmy Castor Bunch. And they would go and listen to these records in opposition to going to the disco. So you do have the disco thing, and hip hop has its discos also, right? But we also have our underground or our purists. This was the pure, and I'm not taking anything away from disco. This was the pure foundation of hip hop culture, which included some disco records, but it also included funk and soul and R&B and gospel and whatever they could find that just had a break that would make them get down.
So now bringing different things together, talking about hip hop and how it started blossoming in Miami. You have a shirt on, a museum of graffiti. Mm-hmm. Where did the graffiti start with? And by the way, I think there's folks that look at graffiti and only see these random kids that tag stuff and run away. No, but there's art, and I think you're starting to see that being embraced, and graffiti as a whole being part of the culture today. But and again, there's different type. There's kids out there who just get a spray can and just tag something. That's not really what graffiti or the movement was all about, entwined with hip hop. When did that all come together?
Well, there's several theories on it, but it's Africa Bambaataa put forward the idea of from my understanding, that hip hop culture belongs under the umbrella, and it's b-boying, which is breaking, b-boying and b-girling, DJing, graffiti art, and rapping. Then you also have the fifth element, which is knowledge, wisdom, and overstanding, which is overstanding the culture, overstanding that experience you had as a youth between these different cultures. You all are coming into one culture and have one understanding, one language, one dance, one music.
Got it. So where did you start in terms of, did you produced? You've been in.
I could take you down the whole line if that's what you want to do.
Hit us up with that as a synopsis of that whole line, because I think it's powerful, man. And when people hear it, not only why you're preserving it, not only why you became enamored, but your fingerprints on the game.
We about to go in. Okay, so in 1984, when I had that experience, I started, my first introduction to hip hop was through breaking. So I was a b-boy getting down, doing my thing. The music I remember dancing to the most was songs like Nucleus Jam On It, Run DMC's first album, LL Cool J, Dear Yvette. So those, Planet Rock, all the electro, Egyptian Lover, all those records were the songs that formed the foundation of my introduction to hip hop culture as a b-boy. I remember the first time ever I heard this record, and the MCs sounded like they were from another planet. It's like, why do they sound so different? Who are these cats? 1986. Who do you think it was? Just take a guess.
1986.
That's all right. Drew, who do you think it was?
Run DMC?
Close. Well, it was after Run DMC. I'm already formed in my head with Run DMC, LL.
KRS-One.
It's before Chris. It's okay. The Beastie Boys.
Oh yeah.
What I realized, I was like, they sound so different because they're white. There wasn't rap. The rap music was black music and is black music. And so that the Beastie Boys sounded so foreign to me. I was like, why do they sound like they're from another planet? I remember hearing that, seeing that. And then when I saw them, I was like, oh, because they're white. And that really showed me also, we can all get down. Although they, not to disrespect them, they are imitators of a certain style. They brought their own flavor to it. And so that's what I began to do. So as a b-boy in the early 80s, I get a phone call from my friend who goes to New York. He said, yo, breaking is dead. We're skateboarding now. So now we jump on a skateboard for a few years. But I remember the first time, now it's 87, and a friend calls me in to listen to a record, and it's Walk This Way. But so I left hip hop alone during that time. I was like, my friend told me it's over, it's dead. We're skateboard, we're punk rock. This is how we're going, which is very interesting because hip hop and punk rock have they meet in some very unique places. So I go in, he pulls me in, and I listen to Run DMC's Walk This Way featuring Aerosmith. It really is Aerosmith featuring Run DMC. It was their record originally. I said, wow, because I loved Run DMC. It was my heart. It's like, these cats are still doing that? And that was it. I was just sold out for hip hop. That same year in Arvida Junior High School, I met a graffiti writer. At the time, still my very best friend to this day. I give thanks to God for him in my life. I'm looking at this brother. I'm looking over his shoulder. He's catching ill tags. I'm like, yo, this dude does, like what I saw on Beat Street, he knows how to do that. It's like, he's really, really doing it. So I'm looking over his shoulder. He's catching his tags. I say, yo, what you write? No, I'm sorry. I said, yo, are you a writer? He said, nah, but my brother is. Like, oh damn. So we're in science class together. Over the weeks, months, I'm like trying to get down with him, and he was a roughneck youth, but he like started, his heart started softening. As he put it, I would follow him around like a puppy. Like I just wanted to be down with him so bad. So eventually he would start drawing my names. I need 25 cents for milk, so I give him some money for milk, and so on and so forth. We became best friends, but his name was Dunn, or is Dunn. That was his graffiti tag, and he was my first introduction to having a mentor in hip hop. So he took me under his wing and taught me to be a graffiti writer. He gave me the name Brim eventually. From there, I moved into so graffiti was my thing, and we were really going hard. I was definitely the youth that was putting my name everywhere. That was our idea of it at the time. That if you're gonna do something, that's one thing hip hop taught me. If you're gonna do it to the best of your ability every time and show everybody out. That's the ego in hip hop culture. You gotta show everyone out and be the best and the freshest. So I take my graffiti knowledge into high school. I go to Killian Senior High. Next to me, there's this brother here. He's just the flyest looking brother in the whole school. He got the flat top with the steps, beads, just representing somebody that looked like he came out the movie of Do the Right Thing, just an extra from Do the Right Thing walking down the street. All the females would chase him down. All the men wanted to beat him up because all the females wanted to be with him. His name was Dion. And so one day he sees me, I see him in his rhyme book, and he sees me in my black book. I say, yo, can we switch books? And he's like, I don't really do that. We don't even know each other. He's like, yeah, we got down. And this is to the best of my recollection. And we became best friends at that time. It was like, boom, something was written in the heavens. So me and that brother, he started grooming me as an MC, because I was definitely I was into rhyming. What people don't understand, so what people don't understand is you learn to rap because you're listening to the music. I learned to rap. Melly Mel is my instructor. Kumo D is my instructor. KRS-One is my instructor. Because that's how, we didn't even know that we were learning to rhyme by doing that. But we would mimic the voice, get the sound, the cadence, the flow, and that's how we were able to develop our own flows. So Dion took me and we formed a group called Plan B. In this group was a brother named Trek 6, who's a famous muralist now. He did the boombox off I-95. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, yeah.
We all grew up together.
Bunch of music videos.
Yes, a bunch of music videos have gone down there. So he and then this brother named Sweet Pea, we formed Plan B, and Dion was the manager of us. And then he was a brilliant dancer, so we started having dancers and have choreography. And at Killian Senior High, there was only 2 hip-hop crews. It was our crew, Plan B, and another crew called School Days, which also was the name Last Straws. You know, I'm taking them back. So it's the DJ Epps' school. You know who DJ Epps is?
Yep.
He's School Days DJ. Our DJ was DJ Rook from Miami. So again, when we were talking about North and South, this was off camera. Hopefully we'll get into that. There's only 2 crews, so it's gonna be beef. Although we all had friendships, like private friendships, and it was not, and when I say beef, it's artistic beef. But our dancers, you would just be walking outside, all of a sudden the 2 dancers are going at it, and the whole school is going crazy. We're having freestyle ciphers, freestyle sessions. But what was built in that environment, I was also the president of a graffiti crew called STV. It was said that at that time by the Miami-Dade County Police that there was more graffiti writers in Killian Senior High than any other school that year. That for a graffiti writer, that's something you brag about and boast about. You could definitely tell which side of the school our lockers were on, to say the least, you know? So during this Plan B Last Straws time, my cousin, his name is Jeff, he puts together this idea, and we throw a nightclub called The Zoo in Coconut Grove. at the zoo, the idea was to showcase not only our artists, but anybody, South Miami, North Miami, throughout the interior, wherever you are, bring new artists in front of a crowd. The entire hip hop scene of Miami, Florida fit in that space every Saturday night. It was on Coconut Grove, 32nd and Grand Avenue, which is now a post office. It used to be the Rocky Horror Picture Show joint. So that's the zoo. There's a wonderful young at the time. We're all age. A wonderful young sister at the time named Mother Superior. She was an MC from Cutler Ridge at that early on. We all have family ties to these crews and to each other, the way that it operates. And I'm gonna bring Drew into this for a moment because Miami was, when it came to the hip hop scene, you had South Miami and you had North Miami. And there was, like I was saying, it was competition, it's beef. It's not necessarily fighting, but y'all are whack. You're just thinking in your head, y'all are whack. And really, we're all similar. But we got a call to come to a meeting at the Science Room, which was, operated by Drew and his crew. And at that meeting, you have Drew, a brother named DJ Raul Medina, and you have Mother Superior. Then you have about 25 to 30 of Miami's most influential artists at the table for North and South Miami. We're all in the same room together. This is probably 94, Drew. We're all in the same room together. And these three individuals I'm talking about were the spearheads of the conversations. We're kind of, not that we're younger, but we're introduced to something I personally never saw before, which was real community building in hip hop. And the conversations that were going down was, how can we build this scene? How can we work together and build this scene? So what we took away from that is we started being open in South Miami. We had a home recording studio. People didn't have home recording studios back then. And anyone you could think of has passed through that place. And so we had MCs from North Miami, like Dynas. I love this. Dynas came through to listen to our beats. He's like, nah, man, I can't find nothing I like. Love you, Dynas. Keep it real. Because we, even in Kendall, the way our stuff sounded, although we were from Perrine and wherever else we were from, the music was made in Kendall. Even in Kendall, we were sounding a little off and different because Kendall sounds different than Perrine. Perrine sounds different than Hialeah. Like, we have these different unique things, and if we can't make it happen, it's not going to happen. But so we're building Plan Beat Studios, and we're helping, we're all working together on the career of Mother Superior, she was really like the first person in Miami as a representative of real hip hop culture emceeing to be able to do it on the level that she did with the individuals that she did. You had other people that had some singles that came out, but it was like Mother Superior was from us and represented for us in that regard. So that's the late 90s. I'm sorry, that's the mid 90s with the Plan B era. We also got into learning to run our own businesses at the first time. So this is one of the beautiful things about hip hop culture. I'm an MC. Well, we need to record. Okay, so now we need to buy recording gear. Now we're learning to do something called sound engineering, but we need beats. Okay, let's get a drum machine. Now we have a drum machine, we're making beats, and we're learning something called music production. That's another skill. A song arrangement, composition, and booking studio time. And now, answering phone calls, getting business cards. All this was learned from hip hop culture. For me, from my experience, it was what I learned from hip hop that allowed me to come into this space and operate from a business perspective, or turn it into a business, but also as a way to serve other people. So we're running Plan Beat Studios, and like all good things, they must come to an end, but then maybe the saga continues. So we had some internal issues, so Plan B's dispersed. And this, now me and Dion, going back to me and Dion, he was eventually the first. Plan B went through many revisions. Me and Dion ended up just working together. It's just me and him working on music together. Eventually, we ended that and came into a new space. I said, well, I'm going to rhyme. I'm going to do this on my own now. And I was also, for whatever reason, given the privilege and opportunity to always hold the masters. it was never like we had a discussion about it. They always knew you could trust Brim with that. Let Brim keep them. To this day, I still have all of our original audio masters, and I've archived them and share it with everyone. For whatever reason, they knew it was my job. This was the beginning of me learning to archive. Actually, no, not true. Take it back to graffiti. So late 80s, we're taking pictures. We're archiving Miami's graffiti history scene. We don't know that's what we're just taking pictures of pieces. But those pieces don't exist. These are 40 years old now, considered timeless relics. And you have the original photo there because you knew there was something important about this archiving. I'm bringing us into archiving because it's part of the work. So I learned to archive by reading books like Subway Art, Henry Chalfant. This is how you take a picture of a piece, the whole car, the detail, the character, boom, next wall. So we were taught these things by just looking at what our peers or the authors of the generation before us were doing. So now I'm given all the masters, late 90s. I start working on my own material. Do you have any questions?
No. Now it's putting everything you're saying is bringing everything together as to what'll be my next question or my next topic is this path, right?
I'm gonna get you there.
Where you're at today, but we'll talk about it now in a second, but I think it's starting to piece everything together. Now you can look back to where you're at today and be like, man, that's why the journey had to happen to get to where I'm at today.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, I worked really hard on my artistry and was very committed to performance, rhyming. I performed at Drew's Place, Area 61 or 51? Area 61. I opened up, he invited me to be the opening act to launch his grand party, which is a very honorable thing in the hip hop scene. Again, all the hip hop scene could fit there in every few nights to be there. So I'm performing my best as an MC, and I start popping up as I remember there was one time they said Mr. Pitbull's 305, but Brimstone is hip hop 305. And I'm getting all those best of and all that stuff. And one day I started doing all the bookings at Revolution Live, which is a club in Fort Lauderdale. Any show I wanted to bring them, I would recommend, they would most likely pick it up, and then they would allow me to be the opening artist. So it was like a mutual agreement. I thank God for them because they even helped me. They funded my second album. But as we're there in Revolution, this is sometime in 2007. Talib Kweli is the final act, so I'm doing my thing, and I remember I'm on the mic saying, "Everybody say ho!" They're saying ho, throw your hands. I'm like, yo, everything I asked them to do, they're doing. I'm thinking this in my mind while I'm rhyming, and I'm real high when I say high, like just in that energetic moment. There's that adrenaline rush of being on stage is phenomenal if that's your thing. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, yo, everything I asked them to do, they're doing. I don't know if I want this responsibility. I'm thinking this. So as I walk down, there's like two girls kind of giggling, saying that's him. I'm like, yo, this is definitely not something I can be responsible with. This is what's going on in my head. That was the last time I really did a commercial show, and I said something has to change. So I flipped it. I don't know if you know this, Drew. We had a meeting at Area 61. Him and DJ Raw. Remember I mentioned DJ Raw, right? And I'm telling them, and this is just my version. It may be different, but I'm telling them I want to archive this graffiti scene, and we're throwing back names. And the name I came up with was M Path at the time, because the Metro Rail was just building this path. It had the dope M and Path, so we threw it around, and the name Preserving, Archiving, Teaching Hip Hop, if I recall correctly, came up in his space. So in 2008 now, so all this hip hop knowledge from 84 to 2008. I'm doing more like interviews and talking about the archive, things like this, and I'm grateful to be here again. Thank you. I get called into a place called the Lightbox on Key Biscayne at the time and 32nd Avenue. I literally lived on Key Biscayne and 33rd. I was a block away. The Lightbox, I go in, they invite me to say, we'd like you to do some DJ workshops at such and such place. Oh, a little bit before that, I started teaching at SAE, School of Audio Engineering. And I started learning that all these skills I've learned as a youth, I can now use and share these gifts with others and earn a living. SAE, so I learned how to create curriculum there. I learned how to how to put together lesson plans, all those things. And it's with people that are just a few years younger than me. So we have this great energy. Oh, you want to get on the mic? So it was just really building this up and utilizing, we all work together very well. So I walk into the light box and they say, we'd like you to do some DJ workshops. I'm like, and at the time SAE was just on some like independent contract. I'd have a session here, a session there. I was like, yo, so we'd like to do some DJ workshops. Like, okay, that's cool. What do you think about a hip hop summer academy? Because I'm keeping it honest and real. I was thinking about I need to find a job straight up. So I say, what do you think about a hip hop summer academy? And she was like, that's something I think we could do. It was winter of 2007. So when 2008 came around, we had the first Path Hip Hop Summer Academy. This was you had people from all over Miami-Dade County. From Homestead to, you just had them from everywhere. North Miami, Miami Beach, they all came together, and it was just like the original kids I used to gather with. That's how this group of youth looked. From ages about, I think at that time we did 13 to 18 or 12 to 18. So we had our first Path Hip Hop Summer Academy, very successful. And it was a 4-week program. Miami, and I really thank God for Miami Light Project and the Light Box. And we went around to do it year 2. Go ahead.
No. So it's interesting because it started at Killian, right? Where those graffiti artists, right? Mm-hmm. That you had said it, where the police department was like, man, the vast majority in Miami-Dade County are from Killian, where you started with your crew, and now you're with Path, but Path today, mm-hmm. you're funded by the Knight Center, right?
The Knight Arts Foundation.
The Knight Arts Foundation, mm-hmm. by
Miami-Dade County.
Miami-Dade
mm-hmm.
County.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we just got an ASCAP award for a program we run called Sober Studios, which is a therapeutic space for people to record. I do a lot of work in treatment centers, so people struggling with addiction. I've recorded over 1,000 songs of people that are struggling with addiction, and that's what I do. That's really what I do every day for the most part. That's my job. I'm making beats, recording people in a treatment center, and using these gifts now for, to help people get on the right track and find their voice through music and rap and singing or whatever it is they get into.
Yeah, but that's so powerful that now you have not only helping people, all these large, incredible organizations mm-hmm. supporting your vision. Mm-hmm. How does that feel looking back? Like looking back to those days in Killian and understanding the journey and the grind. Just reminisce, because sometimes as human beings, we're so busy with what we're doing every day. Mm-hmm. We're so busy with life in general, family, this, that, our God, that sometimes we never have a moment to sit down and look back and say like, wow, everything happened for every move, every door that closed and every door that opened was for a reason. Mm-hmm. And now you can look back from all the people that you're helping today, mm-hmm. from all those organizations that believe in you. How does that feel, Brim?
Well, the only way I can attribute that is say I see the finger in the hand of God in my entire life the whole time. Because how is he going to be able to do that? Like, that's not, all of us have lost loved ones, people we grew up with. So for whatever reason, we're still here. So with this time that we've been allotted to the God of our understanding, by this time, what are we going to do with it going forward? And there's a saying in the treatment center, they say the rear view window is much smaller than the front window for a reason. And again, it's like when I look back, it's almost speechless, because to do this with you is great. I remember, and these things are, and it's just a constant reminder that we are here for a purpose. All of us in this room, we're just here for a purpose, and that we have to do. And that's a purpose is a daily thing. It's not 5 years from now. It's not 10 years from now. It's what are you doing today for your purpose? And the purpose, from my understanding, is we have to love our neighbors as ourselves. If we're not, that's the least we can do. And I would say I fall short of that every single day of my life. But if we can start by loving our neighbors as ourselves, then we can start walking in our purpose daily.
God is good, man. That's powerful. I'm going to hand it over for a second to Brent and Albert. I'm sure Drew will throw something in there, a small curveball possibly. But Brent, Albert, what you guys got?
So earlier you were talking about how, you guys were kind of separated from the North Miami to South Miami and everything. And You guys met up in the room in 94, 95. So can you kind of go into detail about what happened in that room for hip hop?
And so, how was the best way to address
that middle camera right there?
Sorry. So, a lot of these times are kind of cloudy, to be honest with you. I just knew it was such an important time in my life to see leadership in community. I watched Drew and did what Drew did in my neighborhood. And that's exactly that's what Path is about. Do your thing in your neighborhood and represent and respect other people's neighborhoods. But definitely, that's what I remember. The takeaway was like, we have to work together. It don't make sense if both of us are MCs and just because you're from there and I'm from there that we have to have beef. If we work together, we can get shows together. If we can collab. I could work with your producers. We can create a Miami sound now. And so I think that is, the major takeaway was the importance of community.
We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We're powered by Miami Lakes Automall. Thank you to Fred Senra. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue in Miami Lakes, 305-455-3510. Fred was the one that actually provided the seed funding to start our podcast here. By the way, when you walked into the office, what'd you think about the mural right off the bat?
The vibe is right. I love these two young brothers, man. I would love to see if we can get some Path Youth to start interning over here with them, to be honest with you. I love their energy. It's like the people we would have been in our rooms at Drew's meetings back in the days. So I can tell because they're in the mayor's office, they're doing something right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Shout out to them. Shout out to Grisel. You can text her at 786-353-8608. And Brim, right outside, we got some Gaucho's Gourmet Market empanadas. So we're about to go munch on Drew, you didn't take them, right? You didn't eat any yet? 7357 Miami Lakes Drive. Shout out to Eddie. Great friend. Our film production team, a quick story, and we'll go to Enrique Santos. Enrique Santos was the one, he came on our show about a year ago. He saw we didn't have a roadcaster, actually went out, ran to Sam Ash, and brought back a roadcaster. So now they use it not only for the podcast, for a bunch of different programs. And last but not least, Matter Lakes Broadcasting. So Brim, what's cool about this program, it's run by a local high school. Years ago, they started a program around the podcast. They now today have two teachers, Brennan and Albert. They have 120 students under them at the moment, and they not only do this, which is really cool for them in the school, but they broadcast all the school sporting events, all the marketing, everything, you name it. I mean, they're the envy of Northwest State because you go to one of their basketball games, they're ESPN style, right? They got film crews, they got the cameraman, they got folks, reporters, the tickers, so real cool stuff. So thank you guys again for our entire team, and thanks for making 305 Vox Populi possible.
All right, so my question is, what's the one thing that you are the most proud of accomplishing?
The one thing that I'm most proud of accomplishing, I would say having a family. Having a wife, having a daughter is the most humbling experience, to know that I've been given the grace, the blessings, the opportunity to know that they're still here every single day. And I have a grown daughter. My daughter is now 27, living in Boston, working in psychiatry, working in a field serving others, which is just like that. And my wife runs Path. She does an amazing, phenomenal job. I realize she just smashes it. She's the most amazing woman in the world and holds that thing together and just does so much with the team that we have. It's a blessing. Yeah.
One more. I saw here that there was a song. If I stand corrected, it's before '86. There was hip hop.
Okay, so before '86, there was hip hop was actually a mixtape, and what I did was I put together all these songs that existed in 1986, before 1986, that were foundation hip hop songs, and did that as a mixtape. So it's not original music, but it's an original mix with some scratching and mixing and all that good stuff.
And what was the process of that? Like, how did you figure out, let's make this mix here and let's pump it out? What made you want to do that?
The process of creating that was just, I think probably started with just having like a list of songs that were influential to me. And back then for that particular mix, I only had one turntable and Pro Tools. So I'm literally cutting the song, dropping into Pro Tools, and then I have to stop putting on the headphones. So it was like I would use Pro Tools as my second turntable, and that's how I did that whole mix, if I recall correctly. Then I brought in this brother named DJ Geography. I hope I'm saying his name right, who came in, like, overlaid it with some ill cuts. But I've always been into music production and sound design, so that's a lot of the work I do, is just make things sound bigger than, if it's not just a song, it has to have an intro and sound like you're watching a movie. That's the way we work on music.
Albert, you got anything else? Drew, any curveballs there, man? I know you're a guest, our celebrity guest here in house that gets to ask.
What would you say to the kids today, Bram, that are seeking to get into the industry?
Youth seeking to get into hip hop, please, this is the honest truth. Have a spiritual foundation. Really, anything you do in life. But if we're going to talk about hip hop culture, have a spiritual foundation. Have morals that you choose to say, I'm not going to cross these lines. I don't care how many records I'm trying to sell. I'm not going to make a deal with this person. Put your faith and your spiritual understanding before the art practice, because you may make some decisions that you regret later on in life. We've seen it happen time and time again with young people, but we've also seen young people in Path and beyond do amazing things. We have one youth that's now working at NASA designing spacesuits. You know, we have another that's a lawyer. It's amazing to see. And they say they got a lot of their foundation at Path. They got a lot of that understanding that they could be who they are in the field they are. You know, I can go to NASA and I could represent Miami Gardens, as a matter of fact. I could represent Miami Gardens, my brother Jabari, big up, and go to NASA and build up these spacesuits. DJ Agent Fade, known him since 13 years old, is now 21, lives just a few blocks from here. We're rehearsing with him this afternoon. It's like, these are the things that are going on in the city when they set their mind to it and just do it, you know?
So Brim, we turn it over to you, man. You get to ask 2 questions. Anything you want of me, of our crew. We give you two opportunities.
Okay. What are
Eh.
challenges of being the mayor of Miami Garden City? And your responsibilities.
Got it. No. I think as mayor here in the Lakes, it's very fulfilling, right? In terms of you get to do a lot of great things as mayor, right? Because when you're in different offices, like if you're in Congress or you're the president or you're the governor, a lot of times you don't see the impact locally in people's lives immediately, right? When you're the mayor, you make decisions that have immediate impacts on the lives of our residents. And I'll give you an example. We recently had to vote on we don't have an emergency room in the town. We don't have a hospital. So God forbid somebody has a heart attack or a stroke or gets mortally or gets wounded really bad, but in a car accident, whatever it may be, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen. But if it does happen, they would have to go to hospitals outside of our town. And some of those hospitals, the quality of care just isn't at par to what you see in other parts of the country. So I remember when we had a discussion, there was one hospital want to come in, another one, which was good. It was very competitive, but I never forget, it was Baptist. They wanted to build a standalone ER. Baptist is a great brand. It passed, right? It passed, and today they're building it. But there were people against it because they were like, well, it's going to add traffic. It's going to add this. And I'm like, and to this day, there's people that drive by there, and I'm just like, as a leader, sometimes you have to make decisions that help people, even though they don't know it's going to help them, right? Because at the end of the day, God forbid, like, I'm sure that some of the folks that were even against it, at some point, they're going to get older, whatever's going to happen, and they're going, unfortunately, it happens, right? You're going to need to go to a hospital, and now you can go there, you get picked up by an ambulance, and you can get dropped off at the hospital in our community within 7 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, it would take you 30, 40 minutes, right? People can actually perish, unfortunately, because how long this takes. So as a leader, one of the toughest challenges is making decisions that you might have a group of people against, but you make them knowing it's the right decision, regardless if you're popular that day. But then can look back in that rearview mirror and be like, man, that's why it's the right thing to do. But I think as leaders, and it happens on my city council where I have some folks that maybe are like, I'd rather just vote no on everything because I'd rather not have people criticize me. And I think that is the toughest part, because one of the main differences between me as mayor and every other position is that I have to face people every day. Mm-hmm. When you're a congressman, you never see your congressman at Publix or Winn-Dixie or at Aldi or walking around the community. When you're a governor, you never see your governor walking around. You never get to meet the president, right? But your mayor, I'm held accountable every day. So that's when I realized it's a tough thing, but it's one of those decisions. That process of doing what's right supersedes being popular for the moment. And I gave you that example because it was a real example, and there are still people today who are against that project, even though I know at some point in their life it'll help them. Mm-hmm. But that's where it's hard, right? Mm-hmm. Understanding a leader, it's not a popularity contest. It's about doing what's right.
That's awesome. Give thanks for that. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. And putting people, as I pulled up to the parking lot and I was looking around, I was like, I wonder if there's a hospital around here. That was my meditation, because the place looks like it's a town of its own. Yeah. It looks like it's a town of its own. My second question, and I just want to give a little bit of information leading up. I'd like to find out how the city can work with PATH. And here, just to overview what we do. So youth programs for people dealing with substance abuse, music programs, museum curation, shows, things of that nature. How can we work with the city as a nonprofit organization to form a partnership to expand our programming into this community?
Yeah, look, like I'll tell you, if you museum curation on pieces of art, if you tell me what week you want to put it up and we'll coordinate it, and you'll have we already have it set up. If you go downstairs, I don't know if you saw it, we have Barbara Barron, who designs a lot of our traffic signal boxes, and we've turned them into these big metal boxes into works of art. And we still have about 20, 30 around town. She just put them up yesterday. She has all of her art is on display inside of City Hall today. Which, let me just add to, that's a graffiti concept, right? Getting on a box, that comes from us. Hip hop created that. We did that. Don't get it twisted. Sorry, go ahead. Hey man, maybe we give you one of those boxes to design here in the town. Hey, that is a good point. That is a good point. And look at it today. It's art. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like stuff like that, 100%. The other one is I would love. Look at this art. This was done by a school counselor who is an artist in the afternoon. She's a school counselor during the day, Grisel Gajano, shout out to her. And she did this. I told her, I go, Grisel, you have the wall in my office. This is my podcast. Go to work. It's a Miami theme. You see the palm trees. You see everybody together. Love, peace. And we can do something like that for PATH as well. I'll give you one of the walls in my office. And you'll run with it. Imagine those kids that get to work on that for the rest of their lives, they're like, and that's where I believe as mayor it's important to share my platform. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, that kid might never get to meet a mayor. And for him to say, or him or her, I designed, I painted, or whatever it may it's sketch. Portfolio building. Exactly. And in the mayor's office, like that piece outside, a lot of people see it and they're like, I can't believe this mayor is so like pompous. Who does he think he is? He has an art piece. And no, that was literally a local artist who wanted to build up his portfolio, showed up here one day, walked into the office, was like, can I meet with the mayor? Mayor, you don't know me, but can I take a picture of you? I would like to take a picture of you, and I want to paint you, and I just want to have it as part of my portfolio for the rest of my life. Because now, to his credit, he's in Tampa. He's doing huge artworks, but in his portfolio, there's a mayor that he painted, and I wasn't gonna tell the guy no. I was like 100%, like, we're good. Do it. So that's count on us. Whatever we can do, if it's traffic signal boxes, if it's doing displays downstairs, if it's doing on the substance abuse side, I think. Something you touched upon is interesting, because especially if you add the faith component into that, the recidivism rate of a lot of folks who have substance abuse issues going back into the system, when there's not a faith component, where there's not a music component, where there's not something that they can share their lives is huge, because the regular institutions out there that help people with substance abuse, it's a factory, right? They go through the process. You get sober for a little bit, you're back out, and it's happening all over again. And then we've seen there's a local church that does it as well, that once you add different components that help people's souls as well, that they're more than likely going to be okay in the long run, instead of the folks that don't have anything besides a very rigid program. So yeah, count on us, 120%. However we can partner with Path, whatever it is, and I gave you a bunch of options there, so you pick, whatever we can do. You count on that, Brim.
Appreciate it.
And Brim, in closing, if you can look at that camera right there in the middle, if you can share some words of inspiration, motivation to that next Brimstone, who right now is at Killing High, beatboxing, has the AirPods on, listening to local hip hop artists, and it's like, man, I want a shot. I want an opportunity. Like, share some words of inspiration, motivation to that next Brimstone.
Thank you. Oh, wait, you want me to rhyme? You want me to do that or do both?
You know what? Let's do some words of inspiration, motivation, and then we'll close it out with a rhyme for sure. We got it.
All right, so let me excuse me. So to the youngins out there, take that past, any pain you have, trauma, all those things that you feel like you're struggling with now, put it into your art or your passion or your medicine, whatever it is that you want to do going forward. Take all of that, use it to serve others, and you will have the best life you possibly can.
That's powerful. 100%. Close it out with a rhyme.
All right.
Let's bring it all together. This entire conversation, all these years, under one of your rhymes.
Even before Beat Street, I thought it'd be sweet to kick off my Puma sneaks and dance in the street. But everybody's saying that you can't do that. White kids from the suburbs, they don't rap, whether fact or fiction. The turntable friction had me on a mission. I used to love to listen to the African boom bap basing out the system. But then it started switching to singing and stuff. So I got a skateboard because I've had enough. Now it's all about me cruising down the concrete. A young soul rebel with rebellion in me. I met a graffiti writer named D-O-N-E. Check on what this brother told me. Hip hop is doing great, so we passed me on a red alert mixtape. Yeah, from 1988 it was in 1989. It doesn't really matter cause them brothers truly rhyme. So I find myself indulging in graffiti art. Brimstone 127 STV crew, you don't stop. Brimstone 127 Path crew, you don't stop. I livicate my life to God and the culture of hip hop, and I won't stop cause I can't stop. Peace.
And there you have it, the one and only Brimstone. Tune in next Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Peace.